We call to order the meeting of the San Ramon Planning Commission for Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. Before roll call, our city attorney would like to make some comments regarding the fact that this is a Zoom meeting, hopefully for one of the last times. Ms. Poon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Wallace. Prior to roll call, I would like to make clear for the record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes, that the governor has issued executive orders relaxing the requirements pertaining to remote meetings under the Brown Act. The executive orders authorize this planning commission to hold public meetings by teleconference during the COVID-19 crisis. I previously went over the specific provisions of the Brown Act that have been temporarily amended or suspended in order to allow for this meeting to take place by teleconference, and this meeting will comply with all such provisions. Madam Recording Secretary, it would now be appropriate for you to conduct roll call, after which I would ask the chair to recognize me in order to confirm certain matters for the record. Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia. All right, roll call. We have Commissioner Alpert.
Here.
Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
Commissioner Marks.
Here.
Vice Chair Kuznick.
Here.
And Chair Wallace.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay, now, for the last time, I get to ask Ms. Poon to continue with her essay on the Brown Act. Ms. Poon, please enlighten us.
Thank you again, Chair Wallace. I would now like to ask the chair, the vice chair, and the other commission members 3 questions. Rather than ask you to respond separately to these questions, I'll ask all 3, and if the answer is yes to all 3, please say yes and physically raise your hand. Question number 1, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Question number 2, thank you. Question number 2, have you been able to hear all previous speakers, including the roll call, clearly? Question 3, are you satisfied based on facial or voice recognition or otherwise that everyone here representing themselves to be a commission member is actually the person they're representing themselves to be? I'm looking for yeses and hands, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Edwards. Yeah, you're okay. I think seeing all hands raised, the record should reflect that I have received affirmative answers from each commission member present to all 3 questions, that all commission members have indicated that they are able to hear each other and these proceedings clearly. And no commission member has expressed doubt that each and every commission member participating by teleconference is in fact the commission member they are representing themselves to be. And finally, I would now like to advise the chair and the commission members and the recording secretary that any votes taken during the teleconference portion of this meeting must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
And for the last time, thank you, Ms. Poon. Ms. Chavez, again for the last time, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Item 3.1 on the agenda tonight is the swearing in of newly appointed commissioners. That's swearing in, not swearing at. So Ms. Franco, would you please swear in the newly appointed commissioners to serve their terms?
Of course. Thank you. Good evening. It is my pleasure to administer the oath of office to our recently appointed commissioners, Gary Alpert, Corey Edwards, and Eric Wallace. And I will be administering the oath of office individually this evening. So we'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Wallace first. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Eric Wallace,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is Commissioner Edwards.
Good evening.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name,
I, Corey Edwards,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. Congratulations, Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you.
And now is Gary Alpert's turn. So Gary, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name,
I, Gary Alpert,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you. Congratulations, Commissioner Alpert.
Thank you, Christina.
You're still muted.
Or I didn't want to butt in on anybody swearing in. Item 3.2 tonight is recognition of Howard Frank for his service as a planning commissioner. And Howard, you need to unmute your picture. There you go. You're not going to get away so easily. So Howard was appointed a commissioner, and I have really bittersweet thoughts about him leaving. As a fellow lawyer, I always liked the fact that we had another lawyer on the dais besides Ms. Poon to make sure that I didn't say anything totally stupid. And I'm really going to miss him. And I'm actually happy that Ms. Edwards is there, because if no one told her, that is now your job.
That's great.
Howard not only was able to go through and get up to speed on the issues in front of our planning commission with alacrity, but he also worked very hard and was able to point out a lot of issues that a lot of us didn't see. It was always interesting for Howard to go over some of the applications, because invariably he would point out stuff that I didn't pick up, and even sometimes even Rick didn't pick up, and that's pretty hard to do. But Howard always had very cogent, direct, and logical thoughts, and our planning commission was better off by having him take the time and serve with us. And for that, Howard, I thank you, and I will miss you. And our loss is Santa Clara Council's gain. And frankly, I wish they had the loss instead of us, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So thank you again, Howard. And if any of the other commissioners or staff, for that matter, want to say a few words, the floor is open.
Wow, thanks, Eric. That's a load, but I appreciate it.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes, I'd like to say a few words about Howard. Unlike
Rick,
Eric,
we can't hear you.
oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can.
Unlike Eric, the thought of yet a second attorney on the commission kept me up at night for a while. I learned that it was really not a problem. Howard, you have a very easygoing style. You were very, very willing to hear what other folks had to say and think it through. And I liked your independence. And I'm referencing here particularly, you did not agree with the commission's vote on the Costco project. You stood your ground. And I think that's important for a planning commissioner. I think it is important to not be afraid of being the one vote out of 5 and not go and be willing to go along with the crowd. I do believe that you have a future as a planning commissioner, but at a later time. And I mean that seriously. You now have had this experience, you know what we go through. And I urge you, as time allows in the future, to consider reapplying for the commission and bringing both your style, your knowledge to the decisions that will be made in the future. And lastly, on a personal note, a personal observation, you are one of the few people I have ever seen who can consume a pint of Guinness and not wobble. I take my hat off to you.
Thank you. High praise. Thanks, Rick.
That's funny.
Commissioner Alpert.
Well, Howard, I really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit, and I don't have any lawyer jokes to make, sorry. But what I learned from you from day one, and I think it is from all of your experience as a lawyer or a judge or whatever it was you did, is you had a style about asking questions and making statements from the day that you joined the commission. You just had a presence about you that I wish that I could copy, and I took notes and I made mental pictures and recordings of just how you conducted yourself at the dais. You culled information out in a style that I was just always in awe of you doing that. And you could give a class on it. I tell you, it is just so amazing. And I just wish I had a tenth of that skill, without ever being offensive. You just made a point, and I will miss that on the commission. And the only thing that I don't want to say too many great things about wishing you wouldn't leave, because otherwise we might make Corey feel sad about joining us. And I'm looking forward to Corey joining us. But Howard, you were a great pleasure to get to know, and you know where we'll be as soon as the commission meetings are in person and when we end. And there usually is no excuse for you not joining, because you joined us at Buffalo Wild Wings more often than not. So best of wishes, Howard, and we will see you around, because we know that about you.
That's right.
So thank you.
Thanks so much, Gary. I appreciate that.
And Howard, if I could, again, second, third, fourth, the comments already made. They are well-deserved and well-earned, and it has been a pleasure to sit with you on the commission, because I think we had similar kinds of time. But I also remember our monumental hike through San Francisco with former Mayor Clarkson, where we really got to know each other, and that was just a joy and a pleasure. And so much of what we do here is acknowledging, you take people from different backgrounds who have not interacted before, and we're sitting together and we work as a team. And so it has been very, very easy to work with you, and you're a true gentleman. And yes, Santa Clara is very lucky to have you. And I learned so much from listening to you speak, both on the commission and outside of our commission hours. And so I will miss that. And I'm so pleased that you stayed with us during 2020, because I know that when you took on the job with Santa Clara, it may have been a burden for you. And so very, very happy that you finished out your term, that we did benefit from your time with us on the commission. So I join the others in wishing you well, and we'll miss you, but we know that occasionally you may even tune in to, well, I don't know, I guess, I don't know how you'll tune into our meetings now. That's changing again, but thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you. So good luck.
Wow.
I'll
Thank
just
you.
chime in one last thing. Apparently I've got very big shoes to fill. I'm personally acquainted with Howard, and I'm delighted to be able to pick up the mantle that he's leaving behind. And I will do everything in my power to live up to the expectations he has set.
Wow, that's you know what? I'm in awe of all of you. I have sat as considered to be the junior person on the dais, and I'm in awe of the staff, the knowledge you all have that takes me forever to figure out. And even then, I think I'm only getting a tenth of it. And it's sort of like being at my own obituary, where you find out about all these nice things. I'm thinking, how come nobody said this when I could have enjoyed it? No, I'm just kidding. So, because I look at you all as doing this effortlessly, and to me, it seemed like culling things out was, for example, was something that didn't come naturally to me. So, anyway, I just wanted to say that it's mutual. I've enjoyed my service to the city. It's been my high honor to work with such a great group. I know that sometimes we didn't always agree on decisions. I know the staff was probably at wit's end with me or other of us at times, but it's always been great how it works for the progress of the city, and I feel good about the work we've done. I know that you're going to be in great hands. You've traded up with Corey, an experienced real estate attorney who will run laps around my level of preparation, I'm sure. And so kudos to the city for selecting the right successor. I appreciate, Rick, what you said about me coming back. I may do that when I'm I got a little more time on my hands and I'm not tied up with the county of Santa Clara down here. I love my job. It was a great move I made, and yet it caused me to have to give up what is one of my great honors for a city, by the way, that I first moved to. There goes my lights because they want me to leave. A city that I have lived in since 1976, off and on. So it was high time I gave a little back, and I wish I could have given a little more. But I wish you all the best of luck on this next term. You got a lot of exciting things happening, and I'll be watching and keeping you all honest.
Well, you can't get away that easy, Howard. I got to chime in for staff. We do appreciate your service and your and stepping up and fulfilling the term, and getting us through some very difficult applications. Your knowledge and your questions were amazing and helping improve the process and the projects that were approved under your watch. But I also have to apologize for our trip to the Planning Commission Academy in Southern California when the Westin decided they were renovating, and we ended up on the Queen Mary, and you were off site, but I think you did better than my room that flooded. So
yeah, those are good times. Those are good times. I mean, I learned a lot, but Spartan hotel rooms was not among them.
No, and it was a great conference. Accommodations were a bit interesting. Yeah. But it was a great time to get to know you and spend the time with you, watching you learn all the things that we do as a commission. So thank you again for your service, and we hope to see you around town and participate in our meetings as we go forward.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you all. Let's move on to item number 3.3, which is nomination of officers. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Chamberlain.
Thank you so much. And Chair Wallace, thank you for your service, and we will get to you in a few minutes. So at this point in time, the floor is now open for nominations of chair for the Planning Commission for the 21-22 fiscal year. May I have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Jean Kuznick for the position of chair for the upcoming term.
I'd like to second that.
I think we have a first and a second. Ms. Chavez, would you call the vote, please?
Yes, give me just a moment here. I'm just writing everything down. Okay, so we had mover Commissioner Alpert.
Aye.
We had seconder Commissioner Marks.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kuznick.
Yes.
and Chair Wallace.
Aye.
All right, so our new chair will be Jean Kuznick moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. And now the floor is open for our vice chair for the year fiscal year 21-22. May I have a nomination?
I nominate Gary Alpert to serve as vice chair.
May I have a second?
I will second that nomination.
Thank you very much. Ms. Chavez.
All righty, so we have mover Commissioner Marks.
Aye.
Seconder Chair Kuznick.
Aye.
Commissioner Alpert.
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
And Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. Have Gary as our new vice chair moving forward.
Thank you. And at this point, we'll turn the meeting over to, I've lost my notes, Ms. Kuznick, Chair Kuznick.
Thank you very much. So we are on item 3.4, recognition of outgoing Chair Wallace. And it is my pleasure, as is following in your footsteps, to be the first one to, on behalf of the commission, to thank you for your hard work and outstanding guidance in this past year. We have flawlessly handled a variety of issues and topics and technology, and you have steered the ship just with such grace and composure. And there was never any time, I think, that any of the rest of us felt like we did not appear, just as consummate professionals under your guidance. And so you also have very large footsteps to follow in, and I hope that I can be as gracious and graceful as you have been as our chair. And I know the others have more to say. So my heartfelt appreciation in watching you work. And yes, I have spent a year watching you work. So thank you. Thank you for the model you've left all of us. So appreciate that. Others?
I'd like to say a few words about Eric. I joined the Planning Commission about 7.5 years ago when we used to meet over in the older building. And after a term or so, I got to watch Eric as the chairperson. And in 38 years of staffing commissions and 7.5 as a commissioner, I can honestly say, Eric, that if you are not the best chairman I've seen, you are certainly among the best. You have a very collegiate style, as opposed to many people I've seen chair a commission or a committee. You work towards solutions, and you're very observant about commissioners who still have questions, still need information, and making sure that they have a chance to get that information or ask that question. You are very good at bringing things to a head and looking for consensus where we can find it, and not beating around the bush where we may have differences, and that's just the way it is. I think you also handle the general public very well. You don't get rattled. I assume that's based on years of being in a courtroom and hearing adversarial kinds of comments. But you do handle the public well. You give them the same courtesies. And in general, I think you have brought an air of not just professionalism to the Planning Commission, but a sense of this is a fair process. This is a process that isn't being slam dunked. Nobody's being rushed. Nobody's being told that their questions are out of line or that they need to rethink something. I think that's a real skill. And I take my hat off to you. So I do believe that you have led the way. I think Jean will do a very good job going her own way where it's necessary or where she's more comfortable, but having you as a role model. And lastly, if I can, I'd like to say that any guy who rides a motorcycle and wears a Sons of Anarchy shirt to a Planning Commission meeting can't be all bad.
This I did not know.
Eric, some of the words that come to mind, first of all, you're a great mentor and you lead by example for all of us. This is the second time I've had the pleasure of watching you as the chair, and you just get better every single time. So thank you for that. When things get difficult, you don't shy away. And some of the things that we've had to deal with over the past year, first of all, as Commissioner Marks said, you run a flawless meeting. So managing contentious and easy meetings alike never seem to get you flustered. So thank you for that. We can all learn from that. But the other thing that stands out in my mind is you don't just run the meetings when necessary, and you have a keen sense of telling when it needs your expertise. You will go into full Q&A mode, and you have the ability to ask some just amazing questions and draw out, for our benefit as well as the public's benefit, just an amazing line of questioning. And the one that comes to mind that still I think belongs in the Hall of Fame, if there is such thing, of Planning Commission questioning, is Costco and how they conducted the environmental analysis. You just had an amazing line of questioning about how it was conducted. And I think that just demonstrates your ability to not just run the meeting, but when necessary, and it was necessary for you to just ask just a series of questions that, you didn't skip a step, and it just brought out the information just terrifically. So for that, we all learn and we all take notes. I know I do. And so this is, as I said, the second time I've got to watch you be the chair. And every single meeting you run, I get a little bit smarter for watching you. So for that, thank you.
Other comments?
Thank all of you for those kind comments. It has been an honor for me to be the chair during the last year, as it has been my honor to be on the commission for the last 11 plus years. I think we have an exceptional group, and if I had to say so, I think we probably have the best planning commission in the Tri-Valley, because the main thing is not only do we reach decisions, but we do so in a collegial and professional way. I've been on the commission for 11 years. It has been at times contentious. People have different viewpoints, but it never got personal. And that's an important thing when you're sitting on the DS, to remember that the idea is to make things better for the city and not to aggrandize yourself for other people. And each of the people I've worked with on the Planning Commission, going back to 2010, and including the current composition of the panel, has been wonderful about keeping things professional and not personal, and making the best decisions they can for the city. Commissioner Marks is correct that we don't always agree on everything, but the fact of the matter is, if you look back through the votes, you would see that the largest majority of decisions we made have been 5-0. There have only been a few that have been 4-1, and I think there's only one that might have been 3-2 or the equivalent of that. And that means that we have been able to reach a consensus among all of us, given our disparate viewpoints and backgrounds, in an effort to make things better for the city. I thank you for your kind words, and I look forward to serving with you for the next 4 years.
Thank you. And on behalf of our other commissioners, there will be a small gift coming your way. You know, Zooming does have that limitation. So we decided that given your fondness for lovely Napa vintages, that a gift certificate for wines of your choice would be appropriate, and that will be forthcoming on behalf of all of us who've worked with you this year. And you know, it's just a small token of our appreciation. So
thank you. I appreciate that, and I can assure you from the bottom of my heart that it will be put to good use.
Well, excellent, excellent. Yes, not on any Tuesday evening, but the rest of the time. So thank you. Yes. Okay. So, but yes, Ms. Chamberlain.
Thank you. And on behalf of the City of San Ramon, Eric will be presenting with your plaque at a future, hopefully in-person meeting, or in your pouch of your packet if we still in the Zoom environment. But I'd like to recognize your service as chair. But I'd like to thank you for your leadership on the Planning Commission. We've worked with you from the General Plan Review Commission through EDAC and through your service on the commission. And your ability this last year to navigate the Zoom environment with some difficult applications we had. We appreciate your chairmanship and your leadership. And at the end of the meeting, we will be reviewing your year as chair and the amazing things this Planning Commission accomplished, as you saw in your packet, is mind-boggling. And every year when we do this year in review, for each of the chairpersons who have served, it's just amazing as a team what the whole commission accomplishes. So Eric, thank you for your leadership and your service. And to the commission, thank you for an amazing past year.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So let us go on to item 4, public comments or written communication. So we have a description, please.
Yes, I gotcha. All right. So if you wish to speak under public comment, you may click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken. At this time, members of the public may address the Planning Commission on any item that is not already included in tonight's agenda.
Okay. So I should open public comment and ask if we have any people who wish to speak on topics not on the agenda.
So maybe what I'll do first, I don't see any hands raised at the moment, but we did receive one comment, and this was, again, not related to an agenda item. It was from Susie Ferris Indercombe asking if San Ramon has thought about joining other cities in discussion with ABAG to reduce the quotas being placed on small cities with no open space and increasing water restrictions.
Thank you.
And that was the only non-agenda comment that we did receive. And if there are any attendees that would like to raise their hand to speak on any other non-agenda items, we can give you a moment to raise your hand. And Chair Kuznick, I see none.
I concur with that. So we will close public comment for non-agendized topics and move on to item 5, additions and revisions. There are none. Item 6, consent calendar. There are no items on the consent calendar. Item 7, approval of the minutes. Item 7.1, minutes from the June 1st, 2021 regular Planning Commission meeting. Does anyone have any additions or changes to the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from the June 1st, 2021 regular Planning Commission meeting.
Very good. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good.
Okay, I'll go ahead and conduct a roll call vote. We had mover, Vice Chair Alpert.
Aye.
Seconder, Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
So given that I was not in attendance at that meeting, I'm inclined to abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Marks.
Aye.
And Chair Kuznick.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item 7.1 passes.
Very good. Item 8, continued items after the close of public hearing. There are none. Item 9, continued items open to the public hearing. There are none. Item 10, public hearing, new items. Item 10.1, Primrose Daycare Development Application Review. And we have a staff report by our planning specialist, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So today I will be presenting a summary of the staff report for the Primrose Daycare Development Application Review. So the applicant has filed a development plan amendment, 2 minor use permit applications, and an architecture review application. The location of the proposed project is 18,080 San Ramon Valley Boulevard. The project is located within the Bollinger Crossing Shopping Center. The general plan designation here is thoroughfare commercial, and the zoning district is thoroughfare commercial as well. So in 1997, the Planning Commission approved the Bollinger Crossing Retail Commercial Center, which includes 18,050 to 18,080 San Ramon Valley Boulevard. It consists of the Clementine's Restaurant, Chevron Gas Station, the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel, which is now known as the Sonesta Select, and the mixed retail building where Primrose School is proposed. In 2017, Chevy's, which previously occupied Suite 120, closed, and the tenant space has remained vacant since. Last August, the applicant submitted a concept review for review by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission provided feedback to the applicant regarding concerns about the non-retail limit, the proposed land uses compatibility with surrounding land uses such as the hotel, and adverse air quality and traffic impacts, which the applicant has addressed in their formal applications. Since the concept review, the applicant, Primrose Schools, has purchased the property. So I'm going to provide an overview of the proposed project. The applicant is proposing a 13,545 square foot daycare facility. It'll be located in Suite 120, which is the previous Chevy's suite, and they will also be taking over the 2 adjacent suites, which were previously personal service land uses, and they're maintaining the existing businesses. So there's a supermarket there, and a chiropractor office, a pharmacy, and a doctor's office. So those will remain with the proposal. The proposal also includes the removal of 22 parking spaces at the east end of the parcel. They will create a 10,325 square foot outdoor play area, which will be enclosed. And so in addition to that removal of parking spaces, the applicant will develop additional parking spaces on the parcel. In the end, there will be a net loss of 9 parking spaces within the shopping center. The daycare facility will accommodate 224 students, infants through school-age children, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And there will be 28 staff members as well. The proposal also includes a request to increase the maximum allowed non-retail use from 25% to 54% in the Bollinger Crossing Shopping Center. So I've provided the site plan, or the applicant has provided a site plan, and we've shaded in some of the portions of the project. So the pickup and drop-off area includes 9 parking spaces shaded in green. The proposed play area is yellow, and that's located at the east end of the parcel. So that will replace the parking spaces that were there. And then we can see the proposed daycare facility, which would include the 2 adjacent tenant suites, and will also be expanded out just a bit. So the applicant provided these renderings from which we can see that they will be modifying the exterior architecture of the building, which planning services will review through architecture review. Moving on to parking, there are 325 parking spaces currently in the Bollinger Crossing Parking Center or Shopping Center, and there are shared parking access easements in the shopping center. After the Primrose parking lot modifications, there will be 316. With all of the with the proposed use and all of the existing uses, there will be there will be required 288 parking spaces. So with the addition of the Primrose Daycare Facility, we will only need 288 parking spaces, which leaves a surplus of parking in the shopping center. The applicant also provided a traffic study, which has concluded that the average delay will increase by no more than 5 seconds and is less than significant. All major intersections will continue to operate at the same level of service. So staff maintains a parking analysis and non-retail chart for all commercial centers in the city. And from this, we can see that with the addition of the Primrose School, we still have a surplus of parking in the shopping center. And then with the addition of Primrose, the total square foot of non-retail in the shopping center increases to 54%. Another concern is air quality. So due to the proximity of the proposed project to the freeway, the applicant is required to provide a site-specific air quality analysis, which they did provide, and it stated that exposure at the project site exceeds thresholds of significance. The air quality analysis and study provided mitigation measures that will decrease the exposure to less than significant levels, and these will be provided or included as project conditions of approval. The details are in the air quality study, but one of the mitigation measures is the MERV 13 filtration system, which has been required for, I believe, other daycare projects in the city. So moving on to the non-retail land use increase, the zoning ordinance section D438 requires the consideration of additional economic findings as part of the minor use permit application to increase non-retail land use above 25% for the Bollinger Crossing Shopping Center. In an effort to preserve retail uses in shopping centers, the city has adopted section D438 in recent years to address the balance of non-retail and retail uses. The city created these economic findings so we can evaluate on a case-by-case basis every shopping center's balance of retail and non-retail uses. So I've listed the economic findings here, but Planning Commission should have a copy of these findings as well, and the applicant's response is in attachment G. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission opens the public hearing and provides feedback and comments on the proposed applications. Staff will return at a subsequent meeting to address the comments received. Thank you.
Salmana, I'm going to go ahead and promote some of the applicants here that you provided the names for in case they would like to speak.
Yeah, I believe the applicant did want to speak.
Okay, give me just a moment. There's quite a few here, so I'm just gonna one by one have them come in here. Okay, I think, oh, I have one more here. All right, they should all be in there, at least all the names that I had, so we should be good to go.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kirsten Lee, and I am the applicant representing Primrose. I just want to say thank you to Chairman Kuznick and your fellow planning associates for hearing this evening and considering our project. So Primrose is an educational-based private preschool, kindergarten, and childcare center in the U.S. They have 450 locations across 30 states. As Salmana has already presented, Primrose is proposing to occupy the old Chevy's restaurant space that has been vacant since 2017. We believe that Primrose will be a valuable addition to the city of San Ramon. It will provide childcare for up to 224 students. It will also provide full-time employment for up to 35 employees. The goal of Primrose is to develop active minds, healthy bodies, and happy hearts. Primrose has been ranked #1 in childcare by Entrepreneur magazine for the last 5 years in a row. And this new facility will help drive up to 150 plus upper income families to this retail center 2 times a day, 5 days a week. Overall, we do feel that Primrose would be a good addition to this location at the city of San Ramon. And we thank you for taking this project into consideration.
Thank you. Others? Are the members of the applicants representatives need to speak at this time? Go ahead.
Hi, this is Donna Prada with Primrose Schools. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Our goal with Primrose Schools is to serve more children and families in the community. And we believe in a balanced learning approach and that children become as important of what they know. We are in the classification of a daycare and a childcare. However, we pride ourselves that we have accredited teachers that teach in the classrooms. So it is more of a school than a regular childcare facility. And if anybody would want to visit any of our schools that are open in the Bay Area, we would absolutely welcome them. And if anyone wanted to contact me, we would be happy to allow access and give you a tour of one of our existing schools that is open.
Thank you.
Hi, this is John Talamita. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'm John Talamita. I'm with CBRE Commercial Real Estate, and I help Primrose School acquire this site here. One of the things in consideration is moving away from the retail to a non-retail use here. Just along the 680 stats, what we're showing right now, we've had 10 of the last 12 quarters of loss of retail space and tenants going out of business there. We're just seeing a little bit of stabilization there, but to start to fill up some of these retail centers, we don't see a lot of these tenants coming back till well after COVID dissipates there. Just in San Ramon right now, we're showing 188,000 square feet of vacancy, and 4 other restaurants are also vacant right now. So we are seeing a change in the retail uses, and we feel that repurposing the center would make good use for the city, the employees, and the center.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Finnemore, Mr. Becker. Don't know who. Do we have others that wish to speak at this time?
Have you promoted Sean to be able to
No,
speak?
but I can. It's Sean Thompson?
Sean Thompson, yes. He was the previous owner of the shopping center and was in charge of leasing and marketing it.
Okay, he's been promoted, so he should be able to speak if he'd like to share.
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes, I'm mainly here just to answer any questions that the commission may have about our prior efforts in attempting to unsuccessfully lease the space to a retail use. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. At this time, I think we will ask our commissioners if they have clarifying questions before we move to the public comment. So before we move to that, are there questions from the commissioners to our applicants? There will be a robust discussion after public comment, but if you have questions at this point, please. All right, Commissioner Wallace.
Okay, I do have some questions, and I don't have a particular person that the questions are going to be addressed to. So I'm going to just leave it open, and whoever wants to jump to the mic first, that's fine with me. The first question is, when I drove to the shopping center today, I noticed that the market, which was about 3,000 square feet of the building was closed, even though it's supposed to be open 7 days a week. Does someone have a reason why it was closed today?
They are not supposed to be closed, and we will absolutely look into that. Their lease does not allow them to have closures, during normal business hours. I believe their operations is 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's a Tuesday, so no, we were unaware of that. Thank you for letting us know, and we will certainly follow up.
Okay, second question.
Oh, wait,
I'm sorry.
Chair Wallace, I see Miss Yee has her hand up.
I was just going to offer that today was a Muslim holiday and potentially the market may have been closed.
That's right. It's Eid. That is correct. Thank you. I completely forgot.
I don't know that for certain, but I would assume perhaps that may be an explanation.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yes, thank you. All right, Commissioner Wallace, please go ahead.
Next question. One thing I did notice in driving around the property was there seemed to be a lot of cars in the parking lot. In fact, far more than there were in the share and ride park behind it. Does anybody have an explanation why there were so many cars? It seemed far more than what would be supported at Clementine's, which was really the only large open business.
Yeah, maybe Sean could elaborate on this too, but what we've seen is, since there has been some vacancy in the building, that many of the park and ride people are parking in those sites, walking through to catch a bus or a carpool ride. So once we start patrolling that, we will make sure that that's not an ongoing situation.
Yeah, I do remember being over in the lot last year or so when there was one of the, I think it was a Google bus that came by and dropped off some people, and it occurred to me that was still happening, but I wanted to know if you had an explanation. Next question. Besides the market, there's a chiropractor, dentist, and a pharmacy as tenants in the building. What is their status? I know that I asked that because the report indicated that the two other tenants, the nail salon and the hair salon, were probably going to terminate their leases. So I want to know what the status of those other three businesses was.
The dentist, their lease is effective they don't expire for another 9 years. The chiropractor, their lease expires in 2023. However, they had a change of ownership and they have a 30-day right to terminate. A landlord has the right to terminate and get the space back if needed. And the pharmacy has expressed wanting to potentially expand into the chiropractor space.
Okay, thank you. The risk assessment that we got was dated February 11th, 2020, which would have been about the time that it was part of the original concept review last September. Has the report been updated since then? Because I noticed it on the second page of the assessment that it refers to the current idea of 224 students. So what I wanted to know is, notwithstanding the cover page, has the risk assessment been updated to take into account the present inclination of 224 students? I know that's a difficult question, but if no one has an answer, that's okay. Just say, I'll take it that you don't know. But you might want to check on that. It may have just been a failure to update the cover page, but I'd kind of like to know that, because there's a significant difference between the original 164 student proposal and the 224 student proposal that we have now. One question that I had from the presentation, I think was back in September when I went back and looked at my notes, is the bottom age that you plan on accepting daycare residents 6 weeks old?
That is correct.
Okay. The last question I had to do with the traffic analysis that you had TJK do. And it indicates that at a certain point in time, which was cumulative conditions, the level of service at Bollinger Canyon and San Ramon Valley Boulevard will be level of service F, as in flunk. And I wondered if anybody had thought about ways to mitigate that particular problem. Okay, I guess the answer to that question is
I wanted the opportunity if I don't know if Michael or Aaron can speak to that, or John Finnemore. I know you're all on mute. I'm just not sure if they're available to speak to that.
Okay. Well, my question would be, if you don't have an answer at this point, that's understandable, but
okay,
it might be a good idea to come back the next time and give us some type of thoughts about that, because level of service F, it means just what it means in the school district. It's a flunking rating. So that's something we would want to hear from you, whether you have some ideas about how that F rating can be avoided. That's all the questions I had.
Okay. Other commissioners, questions for our applicant?
I'm not sure if you can see when people raise their hands, but I know Corey's hand has been raised for a while.
Oh, I'm very sorry, Corey.
We also have Rick too, so he'll want to comment.
Okay. Corey, Commissioner Edwards would like to go, please? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Still new at this.
I'd like to understand a little bit about how you intend to separate the children's play area from the remainder of the parking lot, both in terms of aesthetics, but also with respect to safety for the children. I think we had a reference to a tubular fence, and I'm not sure that I understand what that means.
This is John Finnemore. I can answer that. So we're proposing a 6-foot high tubular powder coated fence. I guess for lack of better terms, it would be imitation wrought iron. And then that fencing is additionally screened with landscape plantings that would reflect on the landscape plan that we submitted with our package.
So if you can just elaborate a little bit, how does that create a separation between the parking lot and the drivers and the children in that play area?
Well, so the fence obviously keeps the children in, and then it's separated from the parking lot by a sidewalk and curbing. And then on the east and north sides, it abuts the hotel parking lot. And I believe we have a low retaining wall there as well. We're up a little taller than the parking lot. And then we were contemplating on the rear property line of adding a sound wall at that location, just to have added separation between us and the park and ride. But our current plan does not reflect that. That's just something we had recently been talking about in anticipation of some current concerns of the separation of the playground from the adjoining park and ride.
Right. I have the plan up that we had included in our package, and we are showing some shrubs along the outside perimeter of this fence, which I do think will help create some privacy for the kids that are playing there.
Thank you. And thank you for that schematic. That's appreciated.
You're welcome.
Okay. Commissioner Edwards, those are your questions. I'm going to Commissioner Marks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Marks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two quick questions at this time. The first is, how were the remaining tenants in the building notified about tonight's meeting? That may be a staff question or the applicant.
We sent emails out with the information. I sent them out on behalf of Primrose to the tenants in the shopping center.
Okay, and did Clementines as well get notice of tonight's meeting?
They did, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to refer to the plan sheet CP6, general notes 3 and 4. And I'm going to read something that I quoted from the plan. It needs to be verified that playground equipment, fencing, and dumpster enclosure can be located within the existing easements, and that the existing transformer can remain within the proposed playground area. We saw this proposal 10 months ago. Are those still questions to be answered? They're so fundamental to what you are proposing. I would think that you would already know the answer to those questions.
Well, we don't know the answer to the question about the transformer remaining there. As it relates to the easements, there's some very wide easements at the front half of the playground that the equipment that we're locating there does not have footings, so that it's effectively a surface improvement like parking lot that already exists there, which would be allowed in those easements. So I guess the note 3 has been addressed. Note 4 has not. Really, the way to address 4 is to make our application with PG&E for service, and we're really not to that point yet in the project. But we've anticipated a pretty good buffer around the existing transformer and maintain the required clearances that PG&E would be looking for. So we don't anticipate any problems there as long as we maintain their ability to access it like they're able to do now with being located in the middle of the parking lot.
John, if I could jump in, this is Michael Murphy. I'm the civil engineer for the project. And I think those notes on the architectural plan are legacies from when we actually did have for example, at one time we had the transformer in the easement. We moved it out of there. So I don't think those notes apply anymore.
So what that means is you need to update the plans that come before the planning commission the next time.
Right. Those notes shouldn't be there. Exactly.
Okay. Let me then ask, with respect to the transformer, to make an analogy, we often get what's called a will serve letter from another agency that is going to have to provide service to a particular project. We get that from East Bay Mud, we get that from Central Sanitary District, etc. On a similar note, I would like you to include in the next packet a letter from PG&E indicating that the transformer situation is acceptable to them relative to proximity to the children's play area. It may no longer be in the play area, but I'm unfamiliar with whether there's a requirement that it be a certain distance from that play area. And so if you can get something like that, or staff, whoever on the city staff would take a look at something like that, I would appreciate knowing. Having up to 224 children playing in an area that close to the transformer, I just wonder if PG&E has any concerns. At this time, Madam Chair, I don't have any further questions. I will a little bit later on as we get deeper into this.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Alpert.
Madam Chair, I guess my questions are around the environmental study primarily. And I don't know if these are questions for now or maybe for later. The environmental study that resulted in the mitigation effort to beef up the air quality, how does environmental analysis account for the air quality for the outdoor playground area? Or is there no requirement to address that in a facility such as this?
I can maybe answer that. So in the air quality study, just from what I can recall, I believe they, because the students won't be out for more than 80 minutes at a time, they didn't consider it an issue, but it is in the air quality study. So I can find that and provide you with that in just a moment.
That's okay. We can talk about that later. Is there, and I understand that it's 250 feet from the freeway. Is there a way that we can understand, is it 250 feet where that's measured from? Is it the closest spot, the farthest spot, the bid point, you know? And I guess the air quality guidelines say anything within 500 feet needs to be dealt with specifically, but it would be helpful to know the distance to the freeway. And then, are there any specific guidelines that apply to schools over and above any sensitive receptors? For example, are there guidelines, state laws that apply to schools for siting a facility within 500 feet of a freeway? And if you don't know tonight, a yes or no at the next meeting, that would go a long way to help answer that question. And has there been a noise analysis applied for outdoor next to the freeway? I read the environmental quality, but it only seemed to concentrate on particulate matter. But is there a noise study required for a project such as this for the playground outside?
A noise study, I guess maybe Lauren could actually help me out with this.
Gary, could you clarify, are you speaking of the impact of ambient noise from the freeway and surrounding areas on the project, or the project noise impacts from a playground?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'm not as concerned about the people eating at clementines of children. I'm more concerned about children playing in a playground and the noise from the freeway on them.
Okay, so I'm not aware of a specific standard. We do have information about what is conditionally acceptable. It's in our general plan through noise standards. And so we can take another look at that and see if there is a noise specific standard. But typically when we look at environmental impacts and the like, it's usually the impact of the project on the surrounding area, not vice versa.
Right.
And as Samana mentioned, the duration under which they're exposed to both freeway particulate matter and noise is really probably the guiding issue, is duration of time.
Thank you for that. I guess I'm a little extra sensitive with given the age of the people that will be there. You know that we're.
No, we can look into that a little bit more.
Right, and then given what we've gone through on previous efforts, has the city or the applicant considered peer reviews of these technical studies? You know, and if not, perhaps it should be something we should consider. I'll ask in the form of a question: has there been a peer review conducted as of yet?
What we can say is the city's traffic engineer has reviewed the traffic study, and the air quality analysis includes a detail of the methodology consistent with the air quality management district standards. And it's something that we've required for other daycares within proximity to freeways. So it's consistent in its application.
Okay. Okay.
Seeing no other questions.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. No, sorry.
On the site plan that you brought up, and I can go from memory on this, I noticed that one that we had that I guess it was more or less a landscape plan. I noticed when I was walking the site yesterday, there's a sidewalk that takes you from the park and ride, and it looks like it's going to terminate right in the backside of the playground. And I was just wondering, and that appear to be the only way to walk from the parking lot of the shopping center to the park and ride. I don't know if you want to bring it up or you know what I'm talking about, but have you thought about what you're going to do with that sidewalk? Yeah, so at the top of the page there, that little rectangle that's pointing I guess, east-west there.
Sorry.
Right
Is
there,
it right
where your
here?
hand, right there. That appears to be a
Right.
sidewalk. Yeah, that walk is the only way to walk from the parking lot of the Park and Ride to the parking lot of Bollinger Crossing Shopping Center.
Michael, do you know the answer to this?
I do not believe that is an easement and a sidewalk there. I'm trying to pull up Google Earth right now.
It's not a legal access. If you look at the property line, we did a ALTA survey. It's actually a line of access. There's not supposed to be any access between this site and the park and ride. That dashed line with the little tick marks, that is there's rights restriction.
Okay, well, I don't know what it is then, but
So
you
they
know,
may
when I
have
was there
may have
today-
just built it for the convenience of their customers or something
Okay.
back in the day.
Okay.
But that abutters rights between this property and Caltrans has been there a long time.
Okay, okay. And then I haven't, and then maybe this is a question for staff. Will there be a lighting plan submitted for this project? Obviously, we don't need lighting or concerned about lighting and anything here during the daytime, you know, or in the summer months, but come winter and it's 4 o'clock and parents are picking up kids, is there sufficient lighting? I just recall that at the Russian School of Math, lighting was a big deal for the parking lot. Will there be a lighting plan submitted as part of this, or has it already been started?
We can look at lighting plans, but as a condition of approval, they're required to meet city ordinance standards for minimum lighting. So it would be a condition of any project approval on the site. And that would have to be a reflection of the modified site plan.
Okay, good enough. And then I didn't see in the plan, and maybe it's too soon, has the fire department and the police department already looked at the plan, or is this too soon in the process?
They have. We sent out a DRC referral prior to the public hearing, and police had concerns about traffic, which the traffic study aims to address, and fire did not have any concerns.
Okay, and we'll get copies of their responses in the next packet. Awesome. Okay, okay, and that concludes my questions for today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions for applicant and staff at this time, then I think we are ready to open public comments. So we have, again, a statement.
Sure. So this is just a reminder, if you'd like to speak under public comment, you may click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken. And at this item, members of the public may address the Planning Commission on item 10.1 Primrose Daycare.
Okay, so public comment is open.
And we did not receive any written communication or late communication items. And at this time, I don't see anyone raising their hands.
Okay.
So still no hands raised.
I see none either. So I'm going to close public comment. Okay, so closed. And we will then move on to the discussion amongst the commissioners on this topic. Commissioners. Okay, Rick, I'm sorry, Commissioner Marks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to note, as Eric or as Commissioner Wallace alluded to, that when we reviewed this project in November of 2020, it was 164 children and a play area of 12,390 square feet. We now have before us a proposal for 224 children in a play area that's 10,000, either 325 feet if you follow the staff report, or 375 feet if you take a look at the site plan that was submitted. So we have a 27% larger proposal relative to children and a 16% smaller play area. I bring that up because scale is really the issue here for me. I'm generally supportive of this project. I recognize the problems that they have had. I've seen this in other places. I believe there are circumstances that could justify converting from the Chevy's restaurant and the two other shops to a daycare center, but it is the scale of what we are talking about for the site which raises some questions for me. I want to say that the key, in my opinion, to whether or not this site plan will work has to do with the drop-off and pickup area, whether 9 parking stalls is really adequate for the pickup and delivery throughout the day. I realize not everyone's coming at the same time, not everyone's leaving at the same time, but daycare facilities tend to have peaks. They tend to have a morning peak, they tend to have an evening peak. And I wonder whether the design and the area in general is adequate to the number of students that could be assumed to be in the facilities, either in the morning or in the evening for pickup. And to that end, it seems worthwhile to me to ask the applicant to retain TJKM to simply take a look at the drop-off and pickup area and see whether it's adequate to serving this facility without causing problems to the rest of the tenants, particularly the Clementine's restaurant. For me, that is something, I don't expect an answer tonight. It's something that when we see this project again, I would ask the staff and the applicant to address. Here is another concern that I have. And again, I don't want to come off as being opposed to the project. It's just, you're dealing with a very sensitive group of clients, the children. And so here are my concerns. The staff report on page 9, packet page 9 states, the applicant is proposing to serve 224 children, primarily infants through school-age children. On packet page 162 or page 1 of the community assessment, in the second paragraph, the report states that the student ages would be 6 weeks through 4 years old. Packet page 167 or page 6 of the assessment report states that a 5-year exposure period was used in calculating cancer risks, assuming a child would attend the daycare facility from 6 weeks through 4 years of age and would be at the facility for 12 hours per day, 5 days per week, 250 days per year. A similar statement is made on packet page 170 or page 9 of the risk assessment. Here's the question or the concern. It appears the risk assessment was conducted evaluating the risks for children ages 6 weeks through 4 years. But what about children who are older than that, ages 5 through, I'm not sure, but 15 or 14, 15. And so I'd like to ask, again, you may not have the answer tonight, but in very clear terms, because this is a very technical document, this risk assessment, and I could easily have missed something or misunderstood something. But I'd like a very clear statement about, with all of the mitigation proposed for the building interior being in place and in good working condition and with 80 minutes per day, 5 days a week, 250 days per year in the outdoor play area, all in close proximity to State Route 680, San Ramon Valley Boulevard and Bollinger Canyon Road, does the location of the daycare facility pose health risk to any child between the ages of 6 weeks and 16 years? I don't know, unless you are telling me that any child over age 4 would not be permitted to attend. I don't get a clear sense from the document that other ages were evaluated. And again, I may have missed something in the report, and I apologize for that. But to me, that is a real issue for me to get a lot more comfortable about. I'd also like to point out that The staff report, the traffic impact analysis, the community risk assessment, and the conceptual site plan on CP-6 are not consistent with respect to building and play area square footages and required parking stall numbers that were evaluated, and on which the findings, if we approve the proposal, would be based. The differences are not likely to significantly alter the findings or the recommendations, but it diminishes the credibility of those findings and recommendations when experts are analyzing different building square footages and different playground square footages, and puts the Planning Commission in, I believe, an uncomfortable position. And let me make this more clear. The proposed square footage of the daycare building in the staff report is 15,545 square feet. In the traffic impact analysis, it's 13,750 square feet. In the community risk assessment, it's also 13,750 square feet. And plan sheet CP6 says there's 21,999 square feet, including remaining retail and proposed daycare use. So you don't really know how that breaks out. With regard to the play area square footage, the staff report says that it's 10,325 square feet. The traffic impact analysis says it's 11,175 square feet. The community risk assessment doesn't state any square footage. And the plan sheet says 10,375 square feet. And then there's a minor difference in required parking. What I'm asking is, when you come back the next time, these numbers need to be consistent throughout the reports, even if there are some minor tweaks in the reports that are required. It places the Planning Commission in a very uncomfortable position when the consultant reports that we are relying on to make our decision themselves don't agree with each other about what was analyzed. And again, that can be done in the next report. Let me say, I believe there are special circumstances supporting the overall request. My questions are really technical. I don't understand the ages that are being analyzed relative to risks. There's some differences in the numbers that have been analyzed. Nonetheless, the setback from the street, I think, offers a good reason to allow the building to be converted, particularly given that the Clementine's building partially blocks any view from certain angles of the inline stores, and the perimeter landscaping, which I don't want to diminish. I don't want trees taken out. I'd be in favor of more trees being put in, but they also contribute to making it difficult for a retail operation to function given the setback from the public street. Lastly, I have a request, and this is one that the staff will be very familiar with, but getting a site plan that is reduced to this level is very difficult to work with. It's almost impossible to read all the language that's on it. It is a reduction of a plan that was at 20 scale, and I would like to receive a 20 scale full-size site plan for the next set of meetings that we have in thereafter. I do not need elevations at other than what you've turned in, unless there are changes, but the scale of what I'm looking at in the reduction is fine with me. But functionally, it is the site plan that dominates, and it is very difficult to use this. For a concept plan or a refresher kind of plan like this, where we're not making any decisions, I think it's okay. But to make a final decision, I would like there to be a site plan that is at full scale. And with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my comments and questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Marks. A lot of great information there. Appreciate that. Other commissioners, comments, discussion? So to my fellow commissioners, the only thing that we didn't speak with the applicant is, how do we feel about this change in the retail space? It has not been a topic of our current discussion. I see some hands going up. So Chair Wallace, or not, former Chair Wallace.
Okay. Obviously, that's one of the issues that needs to be wrestled with. I understand, and this came up back at our mid-September meeting last year about the where this mall is located and the difficulty in attracting tenants. Obviously, one of our concerns then, and it is still mine now, is the fact that you're converting what is a ostensibly a retail center into purely a service district. If you go through the requirements in D4-38, as Ms. Shaw pointed out, you go through them, most of the factors weigh against this particular project. Basically, the only factor that favors the project is that it's been unable to lease the space to anyone so far. We have talked to the commission a number of times about the 25% non-retail limit on shopping centers. And I think that that's something that will have to be addressed, at least at the next meeting, because I think a number of us feel that that's a problem. It may be that the way that that center is situated, it is not really suitable for traditional retail, and you basically write it off as a retail center. So maybe there's some other uses to the property that could be used. It may be that some of the car repair places could relocate there. They wouldn't bother the neighborhood, and you could probably convert some of the space in the San Ramon Village area to a higher and better use, such as housing or maybe upscale commercial. But that's something that I think needs to be considered. And, basically I'm going to ask staff over the next couple of months before we come back I'm going to try and extract from them their ideas as to whether a retail facility in that space is really honestly feasible. Part of the problem is that with the pandemic, and now we're going to go into stage 4, we really don't know how that's going to impact retail on the ground. There are some theories that say that it'll help retail in neighborhoods. I'm not sure that this qualifies as such, but that's one possibility. The other thing I want to mention has to do with traffic, and I brought this up in my questions, and that is that the main intersection, which is San Ramon Valley and Bollinger, is already a level of service D. And under the conditions that TJMKM sketched out, that would drop to level of service F. We don't have a level of service F intersection in the city that I'm aware of. And I don't think we have a level of service E in the city that I'm aware of. There may be one, but I'm not aware of it at this point. And so the question I want to raise, and maybe it's addressed to our traffic engineer, is this. Since it's foreseeable, according to the report, that at some point in time, that intersection is going to be level of service F, what realistically can be done to mitigate that potential problem? Now, maybe it's a relocation of the entrance and exit. I don't know. I'm not a traffic engineer, but I would like to at least have some ideas, or to be told we can't do anything because of the geography in that area, because that plus the basically abdication of retail in that center are the two of the three things that bother me. The third is the one that Commissioner Marks talked about, which is the size of the number of children, their ages, and their location next to the freeway. So those are the points that I would hope to be addressed at our next meeting. Unless Ms. Fear wants to speak up now and talk about traffic conditions and intersection level of service.
Excuse me, I would love to. So the analysis that I believe you're referring to is the cumulative analysis. So that's based on the year 2040. And when you're just looking at cumulative analysis, which is level service F, and then the cumulative plus the project is still a level service F, then you get down into the delay numbers. And if there is less than a 5-second difference between the cumulative and the cumulative plus project delay numbers, then there isn't an impact due to the project. However, the question about it being a level of service F, that has to do with a bunch of regional conditions, regional traffic, for the future of in a like 2040. And so, you know, we have the means, and we do look at the intersection level of service on a regular basis. So when the level of service does drop below level of service D, then we look at ways to mitigate the intersection. So until the intersection actually does drop below level of service D, you know, in the future, we're not going to be looking at any mitigations for that. Did that?
Well, the last part of what you said, yes, it is. We're not going to look till it actually drops below level D. And my question is, can you speculate, not tonight, because it's sort of a cold question to you, but at a future meeting, could you at least speculate as to what some mitigation measures might be? Because it seems to me at this point, we already know that we're going to have to plan for 18 to 20,000 more units in San Ramon. And so the build out's going to occur bigger and faster than what General Plan 2035 looks at. So I'd at least like to have some ideas about what might be done in the future. If that's not feasible, you can tell me. But at least that's an idea that occurred to me for our next meeting.
Okay, I mean, I can give you an indication right now of one of the things that we would do is retime the intersection because traffic patterns do change. So, for instance, the level of service for the 2040 analysis is based on the same timings that were used for the most existing conditions analysis. So, you know, if we just said, you know, we'll change the timing in your analysis, we would get a different level of service. So, you know, that's one of the strategies that we use when we are looking to improve the level of service and increase the capacity of an intersection is by retiming it. And you can also do that by changing or, you know, modifying the coordination of the intersections by putting, you know, more vehicles through. Otherwise, you know, as far as geometry, that intersection is pretty well built out, and there isn't a lot of room for adding any additional lanes. I mean, if the traffic patterns change enough, you know, there's possibilities that we can convert lanes to different uses. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate your speculation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Wallace, thank you. All right, Commissioner Alpert.
Thank you. So I think my primary concern, and as my questions were, is the location of the school relative to the freeway. And I personally believe it's a great facility. It's a great school. I've done some research on the company, Primrose, stellar reputation across the nation. I appreciate your comment. You're a school, not a daycare. But that also begs the question, if you're a school, by state law, you wouldn't be able to build where you are because schools can't locate that close to freeways. But we've done that in San Ramon. We have at least 2 that I know of along San Ramon Valley. So it must be legal, you know. But what I would like to make sure, and my questions alluded to that, I would like to just make sure as a commission we're being fully compliant with the law, and the record needs to reflect that we've at least exhausted all of the state law, and there are no new laws that have appeared in the last 2 or 3 years, because I think, as Rick said, we have a pretty vulnerable customer base here, and that's 6 weeks to, however many years are going to show up there. So, I'd like to at least make sure that the record will reflect that there are no state laws that apply to this very vulnerable population playing outside within a few hundred feet of some pretty nasty fumes, and that we're dealing with those as appropriate. That is by far my biggest concern about this. The property is zoned thoroughfare commercial and does anticipate a whole wide variety of uses, as Commissioner Wallace alluded to, everything from housing to auto to retail. I can make the findings that it needs to exceed 25%. I think the applicant submitted sufficient documentation on the efforts to date to find a tenant, and I can make the findings to exceed the 25% per our ordinance. So it's the use that still gives me the concern, but I could probably find a way to get there with the proper findings and documentation to support that. Some of the technical things about the applicant and the application of the documentation, I think we'll get there. It just needs to be complete. Like Commissioner Marks, I had some concerns about the circulation plan, not just have TJKM review for adequacy. I think a project like this actually needs a circulation plan to include things. Where will the up to 28 employees park? Where will the parents park? Where will they walk their kids from? I spent about an hour in your Pleasanton facility, and I saw the drop-off procedures, and it worked flawlessly. Parents parked anywhere in that parking lot, and they walked their children to the door, and the employee met the child at the door, and it was a 90-second to 2-minute transaction, but there were anywhere from 6 to 8 cars in the parking lot at any one time, and I was there from about 7:30 to 8:30. So, I think just knowing where people will park, where they'll walk from, how they'll get there will, I think, be very helpful in making sure that the operation runs smoothly. And I think those are my comments for next time. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And did I get everybody? I'm sorry, make sure before I add my own comments. And so consequently, I have some concerns, obviously, about the air quality, but I have to say that when I was reading through the risk assessment, one of the things that I thought was surprising was it reporting, for example, the projected decrease in diesel particulates as more stringent state requirements come online. And that, again, with the increased use of electric vehicles, that it's actually might not be as dire as it sounds going forward as our efforts to curb air pollution plays out. So there's that. I agree in this analysis that this is a very interesting location for retail, and it has suffered, and that this switchover might be certainly a very needed business in our community. And I will fall back on my former time as a parks commissioner when the study was done, and for some of the area at that time, needing preschool was very highly recorded in a survey that the Parks Commission did. And so that still exists, and that will continue to exist, especially as we increase our housing starts in the next 10 to 20 years. We want families to live here, and families will need quality childcare. So there is a market for it, and this does seem like a really desirable provider of those services. I have some concerns about the traffic, but I'm also going to concede that intersection of San Ramon Valley Boulevard and Bollinger, it's just really used, and I don't see how much we can really tweak it. I like the idea of changing the timing on the lights as one possibility, but it is problematic. It's also, I will say, on a personal note, I ride my bike through there a lot, and it becomes quite a bit of a death match sometimes between bicycle and automobiles making a right-hand turn into the carpool or into the bicycle lane. So, I'm well aware of those traffic limitations. So those are some of the things. I think you've heard a lot of really good comments from the commissioners in terms of going forward. Staff, are there any more pieces of information that you need from us on this topic?
Looks like Commissioner Marks might have another question. He's raised his hand.
Did you put your hand back up, Commissioner Marks?
I did, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
No problem. I was thinking about this as other commissioners were talking. we talked about who the occupants of the vehicles that are parked in the lot might be. And it made sense that some of them, maybe all of the ones that were there when I came and walked the site, are coming from the park and ride. So the question is the open access between the park and ride and the parking lot of the Bollinger Crossing Center, is that required to be there? Can it be shut off? Can it be closed down? And if so, whose responsibility would it be to do that? That may not be something that can be answered tonight, but I would be interested in finding out whether we could close that off in order to not run into the problem of early morning park and ride parkers taking up parking stalls that in the future are going to be needed for this daycare center.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Seeing no additional comments, I'm going to again to staff. Have you? We have provided you comments and feedback on this. Do you have enough to proceed forward?
I think we do.
Okay.
We clearly have some additional information we have to provide you, and we'll put together a packet of information and presentation for the next meeting.
Okay. Very good. Then having no other comments, then this does not require any motion, at least as I read the agenda.
Through the chair, we would like a motion by the commission just to continue the open public hearing, and we will renotice when we're ready to come back.
Okay.
So to date uncertain. So we can have a motion in a second, please.
Okay.
So moved.
All right.
I'll
To date
second.
uncertain. To date uncertain.
Okay, we had a mover and a seconder. Our mover was Vice Chair Alpert.
Aye.
Our seconder was Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
And we have Commissioner Marks.
I think he's muted.
Oh,
you're on mute.
Aye.
Oh. Commissioner Marks.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have Commissioner Wallace.
Aye.
And Vice Chair Kuznick.
Aye.
Or I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All right, thank you. So item 10.1 moves on to a future meeting with comments provided.
Okay. Very good. Item 11, non-public hearing items, action items, there are none. Item 12, a study session, Commissioner liaison reports. So item 12.1, Planning Commissioner year in review. All right.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present the summary of the last year's activities, as well as some of the current projects that we're looking at, and some updates on the prior approvals that are still working their way through the process. So with that, I'd like to share my screen. And if you can let me know that you can see this.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. So as in past years, the commission has provided recommendations regarding the general plan annual report, climate action plan, housing element annual progress, and implementation status. And that's obviously a yearly report. The commission did also approve the City Center Hotel. It's at the intersection of Camino Ramon and Bishop Drive, and that was approved back in July. We're waiting on applications for building permits at this time. With the COVID outbreak, the leisure industry has had some challenges, and so they're waiting to make sure that conditions warrant investing in pulling permits. And again, this is a 5-story, 115,000 square foot facility. And I would just also remind you that one of the key aspects of this was the shared parking with the Bishop Branch 3. And so it's a nice bookend to the City Center project and the retail across the street to the west. You might also recall we worked through the Russian School of Math on several efforts, and ultimately it was approved by City Council on appeal in August. And again, this is a math enrichment program, and you might recall that it hinged largely on parking issues between property owners and how that would be managed. We also had the review and approval of the Emergency Operations Center building adjacent to 2401 Crow Canyon Road. And the building permit process is under review now. And again, that's about a 8,600 square foot addition. And then also underway are the tenant improvements to the 2401 facility, in which will be shared by police and fire. And so those are working their way through the process and construction. Some of you might have been aware of the groundbreaking a month or so back. And then one of the larger efforts in recent years was the Citywalk master plan. And again, that was appealed to council as well in September and approved. 45 multifamily housing units. It also included the prior referenced hotel, and then an additional 166,000 square feet of commercial space, parking structures, and parks and public spaces. And there was an EIR done for this, and this continues to be a guiding framework of putting residential units in the core of the city. Also has major components that are contributing to the walking district plan that is currently underway. And so, as you might recall, we had the Primrose Daycare Center concept review. So I don't think I need to go into much detail about this, but it continues to work its way through the process. And we will be coming back to you with additional information as discussed tonight. In addition to the Citywalk approvals, we also had a series of development agreements that the commission reviewed and ultimately went to council. And again, this deals largely with the long-term lifespan of this project and the phasing in over time and the amenities that go along with that, including significant discussions over a public or privately owned open space and parks and how that would be treated and managed going forward, and trade-offs for other improvements within the community. You may also recall we completed the San Ramon Village specific plan, also referred to as the Crow Canyon specific plan. And that was also approved by council after a significant amount of work on behalf of the Planning Commission. And again, it relates to objective standards, redefine of mix of housing and commercial uses, connectivity, circulation, and also the historic aspects that were originally reflected in the plan. And we continue to see development proposals and inquiries in this area. I don't think any of you will forget the marketplace concept review. It generated a lot of community input and emails. And again, this was a proposal that was looking at the feasibility of doing residential development within a portion of the marketplace shopping center. I would just add that there have been no applications filed on this, no additional proposals that have surfaced as a result, and we continue to provide comments received from the public to the commission. Also referenced tonight was the Costco Gas Station and some of the challenges that went along with that. The project was approved by the commission and appealed to the council, and it actually is pending litigation right now. There is, however, ongoing efforts regarding, potential construction permits. I think you've seen that the prior office supply store has closed, and so they're still gearing up for potentially moving forward with the project once the litigation hold has passed. Also referenced here is the Bridges Deck Edition, and it probably deserved a few more slides than we have here tonight, because there were several meetings on this one as well. Dealt with some sensitive issues regarding, commercial and banquet facility uses adjacent to residential uses, and the impacts of those operations on the community. And so there was a lot of discussion back and forth. At this point, we have not received building permits for the modifications, but there's still a significant life left on the entitlements. So we will expect to hear something from them one way or the other in the next 6 months to a year. We did a concept review for Belmont Village. And again, that's a residential care facility that's a mix of independent living as well as managed care. And that's on the Bishop Branch 1A within the Citywalk master plan area. And again, another emphasis on shared parking with the adjacent Bishop Branch 1 office complex. And so I know that the Sunset Development and the applicant are continuing to discuss the future of this project. So now just a quick update of projects that are in the process right now. As you're all aware, the City Village, or the Bishop Ranch 6 project, we did some study sessions as well as initiating the public hearings. And this is 404 units on 31 acres. Been significant discussions about the park site and then integration of the project into the walking district and consistency with the North Camino Ramon specific plan. And this project continues to work through the process and will be coming back to the commission this fall. Again, Primrose Daycare, tonight's topic, and we'll be again revisiting this at a future meeting. The El Nido assisted living proposal, we did a concept review. This is again 19251 San Ramon Valley Boulevard, the site of the El Nido house. And this was a proposal for, or it is a proposal for a 84-bed residential care facility. And one of the significant issues here is in relation to the integration of the house into the project. It's always been a question of, do you relocate the house? Do you incorporate it? What options are available? And so they're looking to integrate the house into the proposal. And we are under contract with an environmental consultant to do some additional assessment of the resources and compliance with CEQA for this. So this should be moving toward the commission in the next several months. Ttlc Townhomes. This was also a concept review from I think about a year and a half ago. This is on 500 Deerwood, sometimes referred to as the contractor's lot. It's about 2.5 acres and it's proposed for 57 units. These are multifamily for sale, has an inclusionary housing requirement, 3- and 4-story buildings, density bonus. We did take this project to ARB for comments, even though they're not binding because of the objective standards and provisions of SB 330. But we felt it important to provide some feedback to the applicant and also get the ARB's interpretation of compliance with the objective standards. And so that's also working its way toward you this fall. We also have Windflower townhomes within the Crow Canyon specific plan area or village, San Ramon Village specific plan. This is the Golden Skate site. And again, it's a townhome project, 47 units. They're currently proposing to meet some of their requirements for affordable units with accessory dwelling units, which is something we're still discussing with them. And again, it's a series of smaller buildings on a loop parking system, or excuse me, a loop circulation system. And then we'll do a couple of quick approvals on some updates, or updates of approvals, I should say. Camp Bow Wow, this is in building permits right now under review. We're hopeful that it'll be ready to issue pretty soon. And this is about an 8,200 square foot building in the former Crow Canyon specific plan area off of Faria Parkway. Neighborhood 5, Promenade at the Preserve, 162 residential units. Some of the initial site improvements are underway and construction's anticipated for the fall of 21, for this fall. And so it should be moving along and moving forward. The Preserve, or the Northwest Specific Plan neighborhoods 1 through 4, continues to move along. There's been 369 building permits issued, 282 final inspections, and there's currently improvements going on for the park, and Faria Parkway is open to traffic, as many of you are aware. And then completion is looking at, the park completions, looking at the fall of 2021. And so this is something that will be winding down. I would also mention that lotteries for the inclusionary housing are moving forward as well. The Chang residential development, it's 43 single-family residential or single-family homes with 18 accessory dwelling units. It does require annexation into the city, and that was approved by LAFCO. There were some conditions on the annexation related to the easements with the East Bay Regional Park District, as well as some of the resource agency permits. LAFCO just last month extended the conditions to July of 2022. So there's additional time for them to work through those issues with the resource agencies and the park district. There's also been discussion of partnering with other developers to move forward on this project. Aspenwood Senior Apartment, as approved, 95 senior rental units. Again, permit issuance was pending. We had basically ready to issue, but there were some funding issues with COVID and other construction challenges. And so we're revisiting some of the terms and conditions to assist them with getting this project issued and underway, and potentially helping them with some gap funding to move it forward. And then the Rome project, or San Ramon Valley Apartments on the former Outpost Center. This is 169 apartment units, about 6,000 square feet of commercial uses. This is another one that essentially got through the permitting, building permit plan review process, but permits were not issued. And again, funding and issues with construction costs would put that on hold. Additionally, though, the life of the entitlements have been extended due to some of the COVID relief that came down from the state. So this project is still alive, and just looking for funding to get it built. The Hampton Inn is another one. As I mentioned, with the City Center Hotel, construction of hotels is challenging in the post-COVID environment or COVID environment. And so this project requested an entitlement extension, which was granted, and it still remains a valid entitlement. And again, this is a 4-story hotel, 90 guest rooms, and a parking structure, and that's directly west of Morgan's Masonry. Just a quick update on the laborers conservation area. The land transfer actually was completed in September of 2020. And so that land is now with the Park District, and easements are in place across the remainder of the property, as well as first right of purchase should development occur in the future. And so the Park District continues to look at resources and improvements and efforts to make connections on the west side. And then the Fire District Training Facility. Again, that was another project that was appealed to council but approved. And then the entitlements were granted an extension. It's a little bit complex given all the other work going on with the EOC, as well as the work at 2401 for administrative offices and the like. And so we anticipate this will move forward with the priorities that are going in place for the EOC and the tenant improvements at 2401. And then lastly, the commission approved a policy several years ago related to administrative review of development plans for solar. Since that time, we've issued development plan permits for over 21,000 solar panels within Bishop Ranch, also including battery backup systems. And what these are is a combination of rooftop solar panels as well as canopy parking or canopy solar panels with parking underneath, similar to what's on top of the city center project. If you've been up there, there's again panels that shade the parking lot. And so there are several properties within Bishop Ranch that are pursuing these proposals now. And it goes a long way in terms of alternative energy production and helping with climate action planning. And so that's the end of my presentation. Again, we accomplished a lot in the last couple of years, in the last year itself, despite difficult circumstances with COVID and not being able to meet in person. And I think it's something that the commission can look back on and be proud of the work that they've done. So if there are any questions or other updates that you'd like, I'll try and answer them off the top of my head, or there's a few other people here that could probably help us.
I have a question. It has to do with the training facility that we approved at Bollinger and San Ramon, Crow Canyon Road. The County Board of Supervisors, as you know, approved the Tassajara Parks project, and one of the aspects of that project, as I understand, at least it was reported in papers, was that the same San Ramon Fire District received 7 acres in Tassajara Valley for a training facility. And my question is, and if you don't know the answer, that's fine, but do they need to redo the training facility at Crow and Bollinger if they're going to have a 7-acre facility out in Tassajara Valley?
Well, I don't know the answer specifically. That would really be a question for the district, but I think there may be some challenges regarding urban services where the new facility is, water and the like. The training, they do a wide variety of training, and it's conceivable that they could do some wildland training out at that place as it exists now on the 7 acres. But based on the program that they put forward, the training facility at Bollinger and Crow Canyon seems to meet their needs. But I would have to defer to the fire district because they know best as to what their needs are going forward.
I realized that I sort of caught you cold on that one, but I thought I'd ask it since I did see it in the paper.
Yeah, the primary issue is they can extend urban services. And so the type of training facility they have at Crow Canyon has classroom capacity. So you need urban services for restrooms and whatever else.
Yeah.
And so that would not be available out at the 7-acre site. So as Lauren said, it's up to the district to determine how to use the property, but we've heard of, I don't know, we do not know their plans for what will occur with that property.
Okay, well, I know that when they came in front of us, one of the issues came up is why can't you use your facility out there? And the urban services, particularly water and power, were brought up as why we can't do that. So I thought maybe they cut a deal where they could get both, but see what happens.
Again, we'll see what happens. So thank you. It was a really, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Lauren and Debbie, thank you for the presentation. This is one of my favorite things that you guys do for us, because it's easy to sort of not notice all the things that we do each year. And that year in review is kind of cool to see, and I know it's only a little bit of what you all do. And thank you for putting that together for us each year. I think it's pretty good. I saved last year's, and it's kind of easy to kind of look at what we do. So I just want to say thank you for putting that together. And I know, you don't do it by yourself. So just thank you.
Well stated. Thank you. Yes. It is pretty amazing to see all of the projects one right after the other, since many of them were multiple meetings and so a lot of time and effort. So well done. I support that praise for you guys. Item 2.2, Planning Commission liaison assignments and standing ad hoc commission for interview purposes. Staff.
Okay, so there are really two topics that we'd like to cover here. In your packet is the standard liaison assignments that are in place currently, and we need to make sure that we have commissioners assigned to those roles, whether you keep your existing ones or you modify. So if we could go through that process and go through that effort. Then the second thing that we're looking for is as you're aware, we do a series of interviews for different committees, such as the TDM advisory, the HAC Housing Advisory Committee. And so we'd like to create a standing ad hoc committee to do interviews for these types of situations. And the way we envision this would be 2 members that would volunteer to step up and do interviews when needed, with an alternate in the event that one of the members couldn't make it. We can handle this, in 2 ways. We can, we can just take them one at a time, or if the commission or the chair has some suggestions on how they'd like to do the assignments, we're open for suggestions on that.
Go ahead.
Has the commission had a chance to review the current assignments, and are they happy with them? And obviously Corey hasn't had an opportunity to weigh in on her preferences.
Correct.
Okay, well, let me start off. I'm satisfied with the assignments I had last year, and be happy to continue on those committees.
Sort of the same.
I would agree. I'm satisfied with my assignments. But if Corey sees something in my assignments that's of interest to her, I can be flexible.
So Corey, is there one that actually you were hoping to be assigned to?
No, not in particular. I see that Howard Frank has vacated the Economic Development Advisory Committee. I'm happy to step into that slot.
Okay.
And maybe as a suggestion for Corey's benefit, if Corey wanted to be several alternates and attend with the primary, just to get a flavor for what the committees are for even 3 months or 6 months or 3 or 6 meetings, some of them meet quarterly, then we can even revisit. And if you wanted to flip with the primary, that way you can just take it over then. So you kind of get a flavor for, even if that works, although you're pretty familiar with committees being on HAC for a number of years, it's not going to be a surprise. Mostly we try to do our best not to say anything, but.
Yeah, I think unless there's an objection, I think I'd like to for the time being, step into the alternate position for the Economic Development Advisory Committee, so that I can take the time to get my footings with this position before I start taking on an additional role as a liaison to another committee.
Does that meet staff's need?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. And I will also second that I'm happy staying on the Transportation Advisory Committee. Would you like me to ask for volunteers for the ad hoc interview committee at this time?
Please. Or voluntold, whichever works.
Voluntold, okay.
I will volunteer because I almost always volunteer because I like interviews.
Okay, great. We have one volunteer.
I can see Rick turning his head away right away.
It took the Army to draft me, and you guys are going to have to do the same.
Okay. Eric, any appetite for interview committee?
I guess that sounds like I'm drafted.
No, I don't want you to feel like
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I only say that because Gary and I tend to do a lot of these together.
I know. I'd be happy to serve with Gary. I'll let him ask most of the questions.
And they'll occur maybe twice over the year. So it's not something that's every month. It's for hack and for TAC and PDM. So 2 to 3 times.
I will say we do have hack interviews coming up soon. We do also need an alternate for this standing committee. So could we get a volunteer to step in the event that Gary or Eric is unavailable?
I will be happy to step into that role as the alternate.
And the best part, when we're in person, sometimes we get refreshments.
That's true. That's true.
Don't share the secrets, Gary.
All right, excellent. All right, so let's see how we're doing on the agenda here. Okay, we are now at the section of liaison reports. Do we have, I know I have something from the Transportation Committee. Do we have other reports from other liaisons? Okay, Commissioner Marks.
I attended the Open Space Advisory Committee meeting on June the 14th as Eric's alternate. And just to make it brief, there was really one item that seemed most important, and that was discussion about a new open space fee for new residential development. And the numbers that I recall them talking about were $1,141 for single family detached units and $750 per multifamily unit. And I will defer to Debbie and see whether I got the math right.
That's our current fee, yes.
Okay, well, I didn't hear any other fees that day, so I assumed those were new ones.
No, they've been in place since 2018, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, those are current fees.
The other, I attended the Parks and Community Services Commission meeting on the 9th, and there was an update on the 4th of July concert that obviously happened afterwards, and the Run San Ramon for which was the 29th year, and some discussions about what the concert would be like with Fleetwood Mask. There was discussion about election signs. This was interesting. Election signs being repurposed to host an art program on a citywide basis for young artists. I assume taking the former signs and in some way allowing them to be changed and then used as art throughout the city, which I thought was pretty interesting idea. Then there was an update on the Crow Canyon Gardens situation, which is so multi-layered that I'm not going to go into that. And a farewell to Don Birnbaum, who was on the Parks Commission, but chose not to seek reappointment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
No. So I attended the ARB previously, and it was regarding the PG&E station out in Doherty Valley, and it was really a landscape approval project, and they provided their usual thoughtful comments around plants and walls and fences. And I think we did see a quick little update in the city manager's report where they were going to go back and modify something that was a wrought iron fence into a wall and the planting based on their comments. And then at the last ARB, I did not attend, but I did review the staff report. And Lauren commented on the Deerwood Road project, which is a SB 330. So it was reviewed just for compliance with objective design standards. And Lauren kind of talked about that a little bit. So, at some point we're going to see it. And since one of the 5 allowed meetings was used by the ARB, we'll get 3 of the next meetings at most, and leaving 1 for city council if necessary. And so that was the ARB.
Very good. Commissioner Wallace?
I took over Rick's role as the Open Space Committee liaison earlier this month. And there were a couple of things that came up. One was they had a presentation by the general manager of East Bay Regional Parks. Nothing specific really was discussed. 2 things that did come up were specific. Is one, they talked about the issue that had been raised earlier, which was whether to try and use some of our trails in San Ramon through the open space as an addition to parklands in our general plan, so that we can maintain a 6.5 acres per 10,000, per 1,000 residents is in our general plan. There's downsides to that because we may lose some ability to assess fees for Parks and Rec if we do too much of that, but that's something that came up for discussion. The other part is there is a social trail. It's an unapproved, unofficial trail that goes out of Old Ranch Estates. And over the last 6 months, the Parks Department has been looking into making it a real trail. Well, unfortunately, no one ever talked to the residents in that area about that. So when it finally became published that they were going to try and name the trail, all of a sudden people came out of the woodwork, so to speak, and voiced opposition to the trail, basically on privacy grounds, that there would be riffraff up there, they'd be doing drugs and so forth. Short version is, faced with the blowback, the city decided to put the whole project on ice for about 6 months. And maybe it will come off, maybe it won't, but right now it's in stasis. Last thing was, we are going to try a couple of hikes through San Ramon, particularly in Doherty Valley, between now and Thanksgiving. The first of which is going to leave from down the street from my house at the Red Willow Park. And so there's to be people who are going to lead those trips. They'll be in September, October, and November, right up to what we hope is rainy season this year. So that's what's happening in open space.
That's fantastic. It's good for them. And I was sat in on the Transportation Advisory Committee, and we heard quite a in-depth discussion of Innovate 680. And one of the things that they've done is this behavior study about what will it take to get people out of their cars and so forth. And what's really interesting is they actually think that the target number is that they could hit a 22% reduction in single occupied usage is where they're going. And they're calling these folks champions of change. And with a little nudging, a little incentivizing, that this would be the group that could be convinced to leave their single cars and try alternatives. So I thought that was really interesting. There was a report from Traffics. They have looked at residential calming, which I always find interesting when they put out the trailer with the radar and suddenly nobody speeds, but that is what they have to do. That is the process. But one was Stagecoach and the other was up Bollinger and Marsh Drive, where it impacts the kids going to Twin Creek schools. And then finally, one of the things that I thought was really important was the reminder that, and I'll share this information, that as of August 20th, so coming soon, August 20th, the tolls will start up on 680. So the collecting of the tolls for the new express lanes was put on hold, or they were trying it out, and then it was kind of suspended because of COVID. But come August 20th, they will start collecting tolls for the new express lanes that have not been being collected. So just thought I'd share that one in case you had been using them for free so far. But that is the Transportation Advisory Committee. So it was a very informative meeting this time about Innovate 680 and what's happening to try to improve traffic flow. So that is my report. Lauren, do you have any other additional updates for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a quick update of the calendar.
Okay.
So August 3rd, your meeting will be canceled. As you're aware, the City Council cancels their first meeting in August as well. So we'll take a quick break there. Then on this August 17th, the Bishop Ranch 6 City Village project will come back for its second public hearing with the commission. We will also be having a public hearing for that 500 Deerwood project that we talked about in the recap. And then you'll see a new use permit application at City Center for a business called Sandbox. It's a virtual reality use. basically a series of space where patrons can engage in games, and it's a commercial recreation facility, but does trigger a use permit requirement in city center. So that'll be upstairs on the, I believe, the east side of the upper area.
We have a poster for that on the part of city center facing Bollinger around the corner from Fieldwork.
Yeah, so they're moving through the process, and they'll get to the commission on the 17th.
Fantastic. Great. Look forward to it. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. So we will adjourn the meeting at 9:23.